News and information 570 AM.
96.3 FM HD2. KLIF Dallas. KSCS FM HD2 Fort Worth. KLIF.com.
A Cumulus station.
Now, from the 5th floor Cumulus Studios in downtown Dallas, it's time for Inside Real Estate. Here's your host, Michael Kruizinga.
Good morning, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Inside Real Estate time. Mike Kruizinga here, your local Dallas-Fort Worth area realtor. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you make this a part of your every Sunday 8 to 9 in the morning, because we're here for your live entertainment pleasure. So if you're getting ready for church this morning or about to head out to church, we hope you make this part of your daily program on Sunday. And don't forget, if you ever miss it or if you hear about something on the show, you can always go to the website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. You can connect with myself, talk to me about real estate, and, of course, connect with all of our partners that are part of the show. Hey, if you want to call in today, 888-787-KLIF, 888-787-KLIF. That's 5543 on the backside. And if you want to follow along on social media, of course, we've got our Pinterest page, our Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. And the best way to connect to all of that is just go to the website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. By the way, if you hear a story that you like and you want to see exactly where we got that story from, get the full story on it, all that is on the Pinterest page. There's a daily show page for each show that we do, and all you got to do is, if you remember the day we talked about it, hit that up, and you can actually get where we got the stories absolutely from. Also, if you are active looking for real estate right now, you might want to download the app in your smarty phone. It's in both Droid and Apple formats. All you got to do is type in DFW Metroplex Real Estate and in your app store, and boom, it's there, courtesy of our folks at SnapRealEstate.com out in California, and we appreciate everything that they do for us on our tech side. Speaking of tech side, thank you to Sam, the man over here, who takes care of all of our technical stuff. And, of course, on the other side of the glass over there, Josh, man, thank you for dealing with all the time we have guests who don't show up, and we have to work on putting in a pre-recorded segment for those folks that don't show up on Sunday mornings. And you know what? I know it's tough showing up Sunday mornings because Saturday night's a fun night, and then you got to get ready for Sunday morning. But anyway, thank you, Sam and Josh, for helping me put all this stuff together. That's for sure. Hey, outline of the show. What are we doing today? Here's what's up, okay? We got 8:15. We're going to talk to J.C. Harder from J.C. Harder Goosehead Insurance. And then we're going to do some headlines. We got the latest and greatest in real estate news, both national and local here coming up. We're going to do some headline talk. And then we're going to do our local politics segment. I'm pretty excited here live in studio, and who did make it here, thank goodness, all the way from up the north side of town. Candidate for District 26, Micah Beebe, Republican candidate, and fellow realtor, by the way, is here live in studio. So we're going to talk to him. He's going to be running against Michael Burgess in District 26. And so we're excited to have him in. So we're going to do local politics talk. That's coming up, closer to, say, 8:30. And then at the end of the show, we're going to finish out with mortgage talk. We've got our favorite folks from Supreme Lending Rockwall, our RockyMartin.com team, the best in the business as far as I'm concerned. And mortgage, we're going to be talking to those guys later in the show. So we got action-packed show for you. Hey, little funny something that happened to me this past week. Guess what, folks? Guess what I did? I cut the cord. I pulled the plug from Uverse. I had to give them a call, and I said they messed up my billing for quite a while. First of all, I've been with these guys since they were first available in my neighborhood, which has been like 12 years. And they finally got on my last absolute nerve. And I just said, you know what? I'm done. This relationship is not working for me anymore. I'm breaking up with you, and I'm out of here. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. of course, because I love my TV programming like everybody does. But I'm happy to say that there is life after you cut the cord. You remember those old rabbit ears from when we were kids? Well, these aren't your grandma and grandpa's rabbit ears anymore. They got these fancy HD antennas that look like a speaker. They look super cool. I got me one of those, hooked it up. There's like 61 free channels on HD. Can you believe that? And they came in crystal clear. And then, of course, I got my Hulu and Netflix. And between those two, you pretty much get every single program out there that you want. It's not like I ever watched live TV anyway. I always recorded it and watched it later, so you might get it a day later. And so guess what? Life after cutting the cord is actually pretty good. And to boot, instead of $200 a month, it's $24 a month. What a deal. Now, of course, I may decide to go back to it if I get tired of it. And or I may do satellite. And, of course, those folks own all the satellite business anyway, so I might end up giving them my business again anyway. But I just got mad and said, you know what? That's it. I'm out of here. So if you're thinking about cutting the cord out there, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You can cut it. Hey, let's do some This Day in History. I love history, and we talk a little bit of history. Let's do a This Day in History. Going back in time. January 24th, back in time. Let's go all the way back to 41. Claudius succeeds his nephew Caligula as Roman emperor after his assassination. And, of course, we all know the stories about Caligula. And who was Claudius succeeded by Nero? That goes back to 41 this day in history. 1924, Russian city of St. Petersburg was renamed Leningrad. Of course, there for a while it was also called Petrograd. But then back in 1991, it was back to St. Petersburg. That's this day in history. 1950, Jackie Robinson signs a huge contract with the Dodgers. And in this day's numbers, this is nothing, but it was $35,000. $35,000, a heck of a big deal back then, that's for sure. 1964, CBS purchases the 64 and 65 NFL TV rights for $28.2 million, a huge sum at the time. And, of course, what do you think, folks, the networks are paying these days for NFL TV rights? Well, you're looking at about $3 billion with a B per year per network. $3 billion per year per network. That's about what the NFL gets per network. They are a beast, are they not? But the ratings, nobody can compete with those NFL ratings, that's for sure. So, hey, 1983, back in time. Guess what? Hulk Hogan pinned Iron Sheik for the World Wrestling Federation title. Good old Hulk Hogan. I loved wrestling when I was a kid. It was quite entertaining, I thought. Folks, that's this day in history going all the way back in time, January 24th. Folks, it's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. Guess what? We're going to be back in a few, and we're going to do some insurance talk with J.C. Harder. Come on back.
Millennium Title Carroll PC Real Estate is a unique multi-service real estate title, law, and real estate investment firm that handles over 150 commercial and residential closings each month. Their real estate, legal, and tax services range from purchases to refinances to short sales and reverse mortgages. They can handle all of your real estate, legal, and tax planning needs. Their experience offers clients and investors a comprehensive perspective in managing their real estate law and investment needs. Visit txtitleattorney.com, that's txtitleattorney.com, or call 817-310-0136.
With decades of experience, the Rocky Martin Supreme Lending Team will work to close your home loan in 30 days or less. With access to the most competitive interest rates, the most financing options, and the most access to down payment assistance programs, the Rocky Martin Team won't be beating service to you for all your mortgage needs, including purchase and refinance. Trust RockyMartin.com and his team for their reliable and fast loan process. Go to RockyMartin.com or call 972-772-1866 today.
For housing lender, NMLS ID number 211731, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas 75032.
All right, folks, welcome back. It's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. It's time this week for another insurance segment. We've got in studio J.C. Harder from J.C. Harder Goosehead Insurance Agency. Website is jcharderagency.com, jcharderagency.com, and phone number where they are always standing by for all your insurance needs, 214-643-6108. Folks, we're going to talk about liability and medical payments as part of your homeowner's policy. JC, welcome back to the studio, and let's get on into it.
All right, good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me. Like Mike mentioned, we're going to focus on two sections on your home insurance policy called the personal liability section and the medical payments to others. So, if you are looking at your homeowner sheet, that would be the section E and F, or basically under all the property coverages there. Just to summarize these two coverages, this is the sections that, it's better to have it and not need it versus to need it and not have it. We don't see tons of claims or situations, with these two coverages, but when they do happen, typically they're very large.
And these are not things that we typically think about as far as our homeowner's policy. We're generally very focused on, things that happen with our storms that come through with wind and hail and to the roof and to maybe our gutters, to our windows, our doors, things like that, maybe fire related. Those are the big things we always think about with insurance, but we don't think about some of these lesser occurring things. So, for example, the mailman trips on your patio walking up the steps, something of that nature, and some of these lesser known things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll break it into the two sections and just put it in, plain English for you as far as non-insurance lingo. And so the liability payments or coverage would happen if someone you didn't know, or an acquaintance or contractor or mailman or neighbor, was to get hurt on the property. That's when your liability coverage would kick in if, they tried to sue you for that, thinking that it was your fault. Now, the probably main misconception on the liability is that it's only property or house related, but actually liability follows you, on the street, at the grocery store, at sporting events, anything social, active, anything like that, that liability follows you there as well.
Okay, so basically, in the keyword of liability, liable, you're out and about, you do something, you bump into somebody, personally, not in a vehicle or anything of that nature, but maybe knock somebody down. So that's what you're saying, is it follows you around. So if you're at the Rangers game like we were last week, and I bump into somebody and they go flying down the stairs and they decided they want to come after me, then I might have some coverage there.
Yes, absolutely. Your personal liability on your home insurance coverage would pick up those payments for sure. So, and as far as the values of those payments, typically they start off at $100,000, and then to go up from there, $300,000, and then most of them max out at $500,000. And again, one thing I preach on this show is, just to take a couple minutes and explore the options, opposed to just, comparing quotes and seeing that they're the same number. But a lot of times you can go from 100 to 500 for very little, dollars out of your pocket each month. And then if something was to happen, then you have the sleep well at night, or, the top liability coverage.
Exactly. So obviously, when we're shopping insurance, we always want the lowest premium, and that's how we're always thinking about it. But like JC says, you really do need to look at every single segment, because there might be a bump in coverage in a certain zone that might be pennies to the dollars more, and it's well worth it.
Absolutely. And we've spent, a couple weeks ago, we spoke specifically of umbrella coverage, or, a $1 million liability umbrella policy. Well, with that type of situation, you would need to carry a higher limit on this, so that way you have, the utmost liability protection.
Okay, and let's talk about if there were to be injuries, talk about medical payments and those types of coverages, and how that's a little bit different from the liability section.
Right. The first thing that sticks out to me with the medical payments is, opposed to someone that you don't know that was to get hurt on the property, this would be more of a friend or family coverage, and you did feel responsible for the situation where the medical payments, would occur. So I think of summertime kids around a pool, a slip concrete there, and, they might eat that for you, opposed to, going through the liability process. And again, don't see these claims very often, but typically they start out at $1,000, or you can max it out at $5,000, and there's no deductible applied with medical payments coverage.
Okay. And so just to recap, give me one more scenario. I believe you got a really good story here about a medical payment, and this kind of helps separate out, in layman's terms, the main difference in medical and liability.
Yeah, absolutely. So, client of someone at our corporate office, we kind of share success stories and, just real life experiences like this. And a family playing t-ball, on the weekend, some kids turned around, like he was walking towards the dugout. Someone yelled his name. He turned around, bumped into the kid in front of him. That kid hits his head on the fence pole there. Tons of, stitches, everything like that. Tons of medical payments occurred. And I guess they weren't that good of friends as far as the parents, because the parents did come after that kid. And thank goodness they had, good liability coverage with Goosehead Insurance. And they took care of all the medical all the liability payments, through the home insurance policy.
And exactly, that's something that's not going to happen with a lot of other vendors out there, folks. And that's why I say all the time, you need to get with JC and Patty at Goosehead Insurance to get taken care of, because that situation with another carrier, another insurance provider, they may not have been covered at all. And so, but with you guys, that's a great success story. Now, obviously, like you said, maybe the parents of those kids weren't exactly good friends. We don't like to see that. We think everybody here in Texas is pretty much good and friendly, and then they manage their own business on their own. But, you never know what someone else is going to do. People are absolutely one thing for sure, as always, and that is unpredictable. And they were unpredictable when they did that to fellow teammates' parents. But since they were with you guys were able to take care of them. So that's a great success story and a great point there. Anything else finishing up on liability or medical payments, JC?
Again, just it's one of those things that you might not think about it, but again, it's better to have it, not need it, than to need it and not have it. And typically it's very, very small premium monthly to max out those levels.
Absolutely. So, folks, check out all of the segments in your insurance policies, because even though you're always looking for that low payment, we're talking about maybe pennies or dollars more to get you covered when something does happen. Folks, it's been J.C. Harder of the J.C. Harder Goosehead Insurance Agency. Great stuff, as always, JC. Thank you. Folks, the website is jcharderagency.com, jcharderagency.com. Phone number where their folks are always standing by for all your insurance needs, home, auto, toys, and otherwise, is 214-643-6108. Folks, it's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. We'll be back in a few.
Millennium Title Carroll PC Real Estate is a unique multi-service real estate title, law, and real estate investment firm that handles over 150 commercial and residential closings each month. Their real estate, legal, and tax services range from purchases to refinances to short sales and reverse mortgages. They can handle all of your real estate, legal, and tax planning needs. Their experience offers clients and investors a comprehensive perspective in managing their real estate, law, and investment needs. Visit txtitleattorney.com, that's txtitleattorney.com, or call 817-310-0136.
With decades of experience, the Rocky Martin Supreme Lending Team will work to close your home loan in 30 days or less. With access to the most competitive interest rates, the most financing options, and the most access to down payment assistance programs, the Rocky Martin Team won't be beating service to you for all your mortgage needs, including purchase and refinance. Trust RockyMartin.com and his team for their reliable and fast loan process. Go to RockyMartin.com or call 972-772-1866 today.
For housing lender, NMLS ID number 211731, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas 75032.
The J.C. Harder Insurance Agency in Uptown Dallas has nearly unlimited resources when it comes to getting you the best insurance rates and policies for home, auto, and more. As part of the Goosehead Insurance brand, you, the consumer, have the power of choice through the J.C. Harder Insurance Agency Network. For a quote today on all your insurance needs, stop by J.C.'s office on McKinney Avenue in Uptown Dallas. Call 214-643-6108 or visit jcharderagency.com. That's 214-643-6108 or jcharderagency.com.
Are you hiring but not sure where to find the best candidates? As a business owner, I can tell you that your company is only as good as the people you hire. I can also tell you that posting your job in one place isn't enough to find quality candidates. But when you're short-staffed, there's no time to deal with the dozens of different job sites until now. Thanks to ZipRecruiter.com, I can post to 100 plus job sites with one single click and be instantly matched to candidates from over 6 million resumes. Just post once and within 24 hours, watch your candidates roll in to ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. ZipRecruiter has been used by over 400,000 businesses, and you can try it right now for free. Getting the right people for your company is so important. Try ZipRecruiter and get your perfect candidate before they go to somebody else. Today, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/talkradio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/talkradio. Again, ZipRecruiter.com/talkradio.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, Mike Kruizinga. We are back. It's Inside Real Estate. Hey, don't forget the website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. InsideRealEstateRadio.com. Phone number if you want to call in, 888-787-KLIF, 888-787-KLIF. We're going to get into some headlines here in a second, but I just wanted to also mention big thanks and big announcement. PermaPeer as part of our radio show network now. We're excited to have them. They're actually working on a few listings of mine that we're doing some repairs to that are coming on board here very shortly in the next couple weeks. And the great thing about these guys is they allow you to get those repairs done, and then they take payment at closing. So pretty cool deal. Foundation work can be a big ticket item. It's nice to not have to come out of pocket for that to get that done so that you can get it repaired and get your house on market. And of course, these guys work with us to make that happen for our sellers. PermaPeer Foundation Repair, excited to have them on board. And our folks from over there are going to start being on the show regularly, hopefully starting next week or the week after. And so we can talk about foundation maintenance and how to avoid foundation repairs. But if you do need them, talking about exactly how you need to take care of that. PermaPeer.com is the website. And, of course, their phone number, 214-637-1444, PermaPeer. Excited to have those guys on board our program. Big listing. Talk to you guys about out in Glen Rose, the Jewel of Glen Rose. Beautiful property on over 18 acres with a 5-acre pond, stocked tank, and the pond happens to go over very nice natural rock formation, beautiful cascading waterfall that flows right into the Paluxy River. This property borders the Paluxy River on one side, and then on the other side it's got road frontage on 205, just south of Dinosaur Valley State Park over there. What a beautiful, picturesque property. I've got some amazing aerial shots of this property on the website, 1169 Rivercrest, listed at $895. What a heck of a property. And it's really close to scooting on up to Fort Worth. So, if you're an executive working in Fort Worth, or even if you're working, down in Stephenville or in Granbury and Cleburne, Burleson, any of those areas are very close to Glen Rose. But with the Chisholm Trail now, you can get up to Fort Worth, no problemo. So beautiful, beautiful property there. Even if you're not in the market for something like that and you just want to see what a beautiful property looks like from the air, go to the website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. Click over, you'll find the website. What a beautiful property. So take a peek at that. Hey, let's get some headlines right quick, okay? Latest and greatest, real estate and local and national. Hey, you cash buyers out there, guess what? The U.S. is cracking down on you many times, particularly for large luxury properties that are bought in cash. Those can raise some eyebrows up there. So for homes being purchased in Manhattan and in Miami, they're saying, hey, we're going to have to keep an eye on that. New rule applies to cash purchases made with shell companies above the $3 million mark in Manhattan and above $1 million in Miami-Dade. New rules aim to prevent money laundering. Press release from Treasury Department's Financial Crimes and Enforcement Network. They sent this out, and so they're really concerned about these cash purchases, large dollars that, and obviously, we've seen the documentaries about stories of real estate being purchased down in the Miami area by drug lords and whatnot, and used for money laundering and the criminal content down there. And so they're saying, hey, for a little while, they're going to try this new rule and to limit this types of property. So you know what's going to happen. They're just going to buy these properties under those marks and just buy more properties in volume. They always find a way. But it's a good thing that they're going to try to keep an eye on that, I suppose. So, but anyway, you cash buyers, luxury buyers out there in Manhattan and Miami, you're going to have to be more creative on your shell company work. Hey, the boomers and the millennials, they're always battling it out in different categories for this, that, or the other. And the purchase gap for new real estate and pre-owned real estate is getting pretty close. Guess what? The boomers are at about 34%. They'd always been leading the way. But guess what? Those millennials are coming on strong at 36%. They've passed the boomers in overall real estate purchases here nationally. And so in the convention, the new build convention over in Las Vegas that they just had, they were talking about who to cater to. They're going to cater to the boomers. They're going to cater to the millennials. And, they said they're a little bit worried. The millennials are saddled with heavy debt, more so than any other generation. And is that going to be sustainable, et cetera? But, so they basically came out of it saying they don't know. They're going to cater to both. They're going to cater to the millennials and the boomers, and they're going to work on 55-plus housing and still work on the developments that millennials like as well, which are kind of mixed-use development areas that are a little bit more urban. Of course, the suburban appeal is much more to the boomer. But so that's what they said. But guess what? Millennials passed the boomers 36% to 34%. Purchase gap has been closed. Entertainment real estate news. Hey, guess what? Hef's Mansion is up for sale. $200 million around about's going to potentially get it for you. Playboy Mansion is for sale. But guess what? Hef said, you can buy it, but I'm staying here. That's part of the deal. Any deal for the mansion that he agrees to, guess what? He is a permanent resident until he dies. So this was a very interesting story. You can buy my house, but guess what? I'm staying here until I die, and I'm living here rent-free. If he pulls this off, what a deal. Hey, I'm going to sell my house. But guess what? I'm living here until I die, but I'll take the money now. Interesting story. 20,000 square foot property, 29-room party palace, as we all know about it. Got the famous grotto, tennis court, gym, home theater. One heck of a spread, but unfortunately you won't be able to move in unless you want to just go ahead and move in with Hef. So that was a pretty interesting story. Hey, construction started on the Victory Park new project over here, new cinema and high-rise project. Things are growing like wildfire down here. Kind of Victory Ave and Museum Way, there's a parking lot there, and that parking lot will be turned into a new building. International Theater operator Cineopolis is going to operate about a 700-seat, 8-screen movie palace, opening up 2017, 2018. Going to be about 20,000 square feet of retail space, and then they're going to have, just your typical mixed-use development. Supposed to be about 285-unit apartment tower that's going to connect to that as well. So it's going in line with kind of that international feel where you've got on the ground floor or the sub-basement floors, you're going to have parking. Then you're going to have some entertainment. Then you're going to have some retail. You're going to have some dining. And then on top of that, you're going to have some residential on top of that. So a lot of that going on. And that's just another example of another one coming online. Hey, State Farm's about to raise some capital. Their huge Richardson campus is going to be up for grabs. They say they plan to sell the 4-building unit over there in Richardson, 2 million square foot. So it looks like they're going to sell it, but guess what? They're going to lease it back. And, of course, that's kind of part of their business model is to kind of purchase properties, build properties, when they can get good deals on them. And then what they'll do is they'll sell the properties and lease them back. So interesting. They're looking to raise some capital there is basically, what they're going to be doing. So interesting story there. Folks, a lot of folks were affected by the tornadoes here in the area late last year, December, kind of Christmas time frame. We talked about that before. Of course, our thoughts and prayers are with all those folks out there, hoping they're rebuilding. But there was a big story here about the rebuilding and how right now it's kind of difficult to get a lot of work done, and so folks may be facing longer time frames to get back in their homes with reconstruction. And some folks' homes, it was a total loss. And there's a real labor shortage, and so it's really tough out there. And so part of the article was talking about you're gonna have to be careful picking out your contractors. Now if you're in one of those subdivisions where the builder just finished building a couple years ago, because there were some new subdivisions over there, they got hit pretty hard, and some of them the builder's coming back in and setting back up again and just rebuilding those same homes for you. And in those cases, that's great. It's great for y'all. But if you're not in that type of situation and you're looking to find some labor, you could be short on it, and it could be a longer wait. And so they just want everybody to make sure you're careful. Any chuck in a truck can come by, and you might need to get some work done, but you're going to have to be really careful out there. And like we've talked with our folks over at Supreme Lending Rockwall, they've got an excellent database of contractors that are on their naughty and nice lists. And so if you have any concerns or questions, you might want to double check their list. You might want to give myself a call. Head over to the website, and we'll get you connected with our folks over at Supreme Lending Rockwall. Get you taken care of there. Hey, I wanted to mention this. There's an award being given out. City of Arlington works with the Fort Worth-based Development Corporation of Tarrant County on low-income housing. And they're going to receive the 2016 Audrey Nelson Community Development Achievement Award from the National Community Group up in D.C. And, of course, the award recognizes exemplary uses of federally funded funds to help with home grants and to help in revitalization areas, et cetera. And so just want to mention that. There's a great job between the City of Arlington and that program, helping low-income families, receiving that national award in D.C., so congratulations on that. Program does give up to about $10,000 in down payment assistance from the Arlington Home Buyers Assistance Program. Of course, there are regulations to that. A family cannot make more than $55,750 a year under federal guidelines. And there's a lot of other hoops to jump through to work in that program. But if you're willing to jump through those hoops, then you might be able to get some down payment assistance and get into a home that you might not have been able to do otherwise. But in any case, you can always catch up with me and our folks at Supreme Lending Rockwall, because there are a lot of programs out there, not just this one over here in Arlington and the Tarrant County, but there's a lot of local programs, city municipal programs, as well as state funds out there that can get you into a house zero down. So think about that and always catch up with us. Hey, folks, it's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. We're back in a few, and we're going to head into our local politics segment.
Sellers, how would you like your home sold guaranteed? Buyers, how would you like your bid guaranteed to win? Well, it's real simple. Call Mike Kruizinga with Chris Arnold Premier Realty and ask about their guarantee programs for both buyers and sellers. No one beats Mike's professional listing and marketing services for all price ranges, including luxuries and ranches. And few have the knowledge and patience to take first-time buyers from renting to home ownership in a tough market. Visit DFWMetroplexRealestate.com and mention you heard this on the radio. And listen to Mike Sundays, 8 a.m. on KLIF for Inside Real Estate.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, Inside Real Estate, Mike Kruizinga. We are back. Hey, thanks for tuning in, folks. Hey, guess what? It's time to talk some local politics here. And we're going to be excited to have right here live in studio Republican candidate for office, going up against incumbent Michael Burgess in District 26. Republican candidate Micah Beebe is here live in studio. And Josh, do we have his mic queued up over there? Are we good to go over there? Yes, I think we are. Micah, welcome to the studio. How are we doing?
Hey, Mike. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Glad to have you, especially since you're a fellow realtor.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you being on the show, and of course, appreciate you getting out there and running for office. That is no small feat at all. And thanks for coming in all the way in from the north side of town, up there from Argyle all the way into downtown Dallas. I used to referee high school basketball for a very long time, and I know all those areas up around 380 very well. Refereed up in all those small towns, and Argyle's a great spot. Well, let's get on into it. First of all, let's talk a little bit about why you wanted to decide to run, number one, and then a little bit about your background.
Yeah. Well, I've thought for a long time that, there's a lot of things that are going wrong in our country, and I felt like I had the skills necessary to get in the race, make a positive impact for our country. There's a lot of things that I bring to the table with my background in psychology and real estate. I know how to work with people. I understand the issues. I've been a leader on many different things. I know how to get in there and make changes and get things done. I think that's something that we really need right now is we need somebody who's not going to mess around and who's going to go into Washington, stand on their values and principles, and get something done.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and, being a realtor myself as well, I mean, we work with people of all types, all ages, all types of incomes,
absolutely.
and a lot of times, political candidates are generally can come from an affluent background, which there's nothing wrong with that, of course,
Sure.
but they don't seem to know how to communicate with the average Joe, and at the same time, they don't know the average Joe's plight.
That's absolutely right. I'm definitely one of those guys that did not come from a affluent background. I came from a very humble upbringing. My grandparents. My grandpa always said, man, we were poor. There's no doubt about it. We were very, very poor. Right. It made things better for my parents, but I mean, again, we were also very poor. My dad, he didn't even have a high school diploma. My mom, she did one semester in college. I'm the only one in my family to have completed college. And my dad was a cab driver. Mom stayed at home, took care of us. So we didn't have very much growing up. So, I'm living the American dream. Got a college education, got a good job, and just working hard. And so I understand where people are coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really resonates with people out there because I mean, we're so politically beaten, with the 24-hour news cycle nonstop. It seems like the elections never stop. And I'll be honest, there for a while, I got burnt out, after the last national go-round. And then the last one before that was tough as well. And we kind of get beat down with it. But I think what all of us sort of get tired of is kind of hearing the same old stuff. And that we feel like maybe they're kind of talking down to us and they're just saying what they need to say to get in. But with your story, it's a different because it is truly, a ground up story.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And when I tell people, hey, this is what I'm going to do when I get to Washington, I mean that. I mean, I'm not talking circles around people, just to get votes. When I say something, I mean what I say, and I'm going to do what I say. And in the real estate industry, I have a good reputation with the folks that I work with, and they know that I'm a man of my word.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as realtors, we have, a very serious code of ethics that we operate by.
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
There's federal guidelines that we have to operate by, and of course our state guidelines, and of course our local guidelines, and then of course, our ethics have to be beyond reproach. And our code of ethics really ought to we have to get some of these politicians to go by our code of ethics, I'm telling you.
Yeah, we do. Well, and as a member of the National Association of Realtors, that's right. We have a very strict ethical guideline that we have to adhere by. And so it goes above and beyond anything else. And so it's a code of practice that we must follow. And it says that, you have to be honest with people. And some of these things are very common sense type of things. And you're like, well, wouldn't you do that already being in business?
Yeah, you would think, right?
Yeah, but no, those are very well spelled out. And there's a strict code that we have to adhere by. But when I look at it, it's a system that I would adhere by anyway, because I think that's the way you should be treating people. I think you should treat everyone fairly and equally and with respect. You shouldn't lie or be devious in any way, So
yeah, exactly. If we could get some of the politicians to operate like we do, that would be pretty amazing. Folks, we're talking with Republican candidate for office, Micah Beebe, for District 26. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come on back, and then we're going to start getting into some issues and getting into your political stances here. Folks, Inside Real Estate, Mike Kruizinga will be back in a few. or not. I thought we were going to go to commercial there, but it looks like we've got an issue with our board over there. The board on the other side of the glass is not working. Okay, we have an error. So guess what? We're still live, Mike. Hey, pretend we went to commercial and you said, "Oh wow, that was an awesome commercial," and you came on back. Hey folks, Inside Real Estate, we are back live, and we never went away. By the way, we got Mike Abebe, Republican candidate for office, District 26, here live in studio. He's going up against Michael Burgess, and we talked a little bit about his background here in the last segment. And so now we want to kind of get into the issues, and we want to talk about, your stance and some of the key things that distinguishes you from the field. What do we want to start with?
Well, why don't we jump into tax reform? Tax reform is a really big issue. The problem that I have with the tax system right now is that it's just way too complicated. I mean, we pile this on to just average, everyday people, and they have to hire all these experts to try to figure it out. There's always new laws and regulations, and we really need a simplified system. I mean, anybody should be able to figure this out. And so my plan is to go with a flat tax rate system, which we've heard a lot of talk about lately. But, I mean, going to a flat tax would eliminate a lot of the loopholes that are out there. I mean, it would eliminate all of them, really. And so that way, everyone is on an equal playing field. We're not playing favorites. Everybody pays the same percentage, and everything is the same.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. We have heard a lot of this, before. And it is something that's starting to gain some traction. People get it. People understand it. Okay, it's a flat rate. That's just, it is what it is every year versus all the questions, et cetera, et cetera. I think where most people are more concerned is instead of the individual usually maybe making out a little bit better every year, and maybe they do with, some tax breaks, some deductions, et cetera, CPAs working to get creative for us on the individual level. But that really doesn't make that huge of an impact as far as flow into the Treasury. What really does is at the corporate level, because they are very much wanting to watch their tax dollars.
Yeah, we really need a reform on the corporate tax level because right now, I mean, we have the highest corporate tax rate in the world, and we're losing companies to overseas because these other countries are more competitive than we are. And we need to show these companies that we are the most competitive place to do business. We're the best place to do business, and we need to bring them back here. And so there's some very simple things that we can do in order to bring those dollars back to our country and bring more jobs back to our country. And that's just to, again, another flat tax rate system, simplifying the tax code. And because you have all these deductions and rules, and there's companies. There was an article out just not too long ago. There's a lot of companies that were just waiting on edge for the government to make some final decisions, and we can't keep people in limbo like this every year. We've got to have some sanity. We've got to bring some common sense and just make it easy for folks. I mean, there's too much complication in our tax code all the way around, just across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And our businesses need to be able to plan in advance. I've been in small business and then being back in corporate, I know we had to plan everything way, 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 way in advance. Our budgets were done way in advance, and you got to be able to plan.
Absolutely.
You can't just have questions out there.
Yeah, well, and I mean, if all of our businesses have to do that, if you have to do that in your own household, why aren't we having our government do that?
Right.
So, I mean, if we all have to abide by those types of rules, our government should have to do the same thing.
Exactly. I absolutely agree. And of course, the other thing is in theory too, the flat tax rate should actually potentially raise money into the coffers, increase cash flow. Now, we already say, okay, the government misspends our dollars anyway. If we're going to give them a net increase, what are they going to do with it? And so that kind of goes into your discussion about, we need to be better monitoring the spending, bring the debt back in order, et cetera.
Yeah, we absolutely do because, I mean, everybody knows our debt is just, it's out of control. I mean, the insanity of the spending that's going on right now, I mean, we need fiscal responsibility. And like I said, I mean, we went through this financial crisis, and people across America, what did they do? They buckled down, they saved money, they paid off debt, they made cuts, and our government, once again, should have to do the same thing. And so it's insanity what is going on right now and how much we're spending. We need to go to a zero-based budgeting system and say, okay, what do we have money for? What can we afford? Just like the average everyday person, just with your own household expenses, the government should have to abide by the same rules.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got to budget our own selves, but our money just free flows into the government, and they just spend it willy-nilly. We need, like you say, a zero budgeting system, but also, for example, the latest, we've been throwing at Pakistan $200 million. Hey, $200 million is quite a chunk of change there, and that they're not the only country that just gets aid. And I get it, we have to buy loyalty in a lot of different ways, internationally. But at the same time, shouldn't we, the people, have some sort of say in that?
Yeah, we absolutely should. I mean, we shouldn't be borrowing money from China in order to give it away to somebody else. And so we've got to be more responsible with our finances. We've got to hold a higher standard to what we're doing, and we really have to rein in that excessive spending.
Absolutely. And of course, I know you're for a very strong national defense, and part of that is being strong financially, because as anybody knows, if you are in a position of debt, you are in a position of weakness, and $18 trillion in debt is maybe a bit of a weakness, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really big weakness. And so, I mean, you've got to have your finances in order. I mean, look at other countries. They built up and you thought that they were very, very strong, and then you go inside and everything is hollowed out on the inside because their economy was in pieces.
Right.
And so if we have a strong economy, we'll have a strong national defense. I mean, it helps our country all the way around.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about, I know that you're a big supporter of senior citizens, and so let's talk about, your stance, and, you want to stand with the seniors, support the seniors and their plight. As we age in this time period, which is a very unique time period, in other eras, the things you may have stressed out about were different, but now it's different stresses as you age. And so let's talk about that and kind of what you're thinking there.
Yeah. I definitely stand with our senior citizens, and I understand, you're on a fixed income, you have limited finances. Look, I was told a long time ago, and like everyone in my generation, that Social Security is not going to be around whenever we get old and retire. And I think for our seniors right now and those folks that are getting ready to retire, we made a promise to those folks that we were going to take care of them. And so the first thing is we have to fulfill our promises. And take care of those folks and make sure that they're taken care of. And we've got to stop taking money from our Social Security system and spending it in all these other places. And so my plan, in order to kind of resolve that issue, is for future generations, I think what we need to transition to is a personal retirement account. That way, because, I mean, it's our money, folks. I mean, we should get to say where that money goes and what we get to do with that money. And so instead of putting more money in the hands of the government, because we know that in the past that the government has mismanaged those funds.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I wholeheartedly agree with that, because, and I've always thought myself, why is the government managing my retirement? Now, obviously, it's only a little segment of the retirement, and of course, they're saying, well, we need to do it for your own good because you're not very good at managing your money, you peasant peons out there. But we're not idiots. We know how to manage our money. At the end of the day, let's call it what it is. They use our money to fund other programs. They use our money to make money. Instead, I'd rather keep my money, own my own money off of my money, i.e. the interest, i.e. what I invested in. Do I want to buy real estate with it, for example, that makes me money and makes me cash flow, instead of giving it to the government and not getting anything back out of it, and potentially maybe not getting it back at all.
Right, because people are not stupid. I mean, I think the people of this country are a lot smarter than our government is.
Right.
And I would much rather put that money in the hands of our people than in the hands of our government, because obviously all the government seems to do is misuse our finances. Clearly what we just talked about with our debt crisis, and it is a crisis. All the government knows how to do is just throw money out the window and blow our money. And so that we need to return that power back to the people, and so they have control over their future.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get us wrong. I mean, it's a good program and it's a great idea, but it's better in the hands of the people individually making decisions on their own money. And honestly, the same thing with income tax. It's taken out for us because maybe it makes it easy for us every 2 weeks for those of us on a W-2. Mm-hmm. But you know what? That's money you earned, and you could have made money off of that money throughout the year, and then you pay it back later. Again, it's taking our money and using it to their benefit, and I don't think people like that at all. Well, let's get out of finances for a minute and maybe talk a little bit of security. Obviously, unfortunately, there's terrorism out there. We have to worry about that here at home. Not only the typical type of physical terrorism that's out there, but also terrorism through hacking, et cetera, financial, et cetera. So let's talk a little bit about that and your position there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the primary role of our government is to make sure that our people are safe and secure. And so, a big issue that we have right now and that a lot of people are talking about is our border. We've got to secure our border. I mean, we keep talking about it, and nothing ever seems to get done. You put me in Congress, and I will make sure it gets done. This is a big issue because we've got terrorists, we've got all kinds of people who want to do us harm, and we have a border right here in Texas, and we've got people that are just walking right across, and it's ridiculous, really, how easy it is to just come across the border. We've got to put up a wall. We've got to do something. And we need to give our border security agents the tools that they need in order to keep us safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it is absolutely a security issue, with the drug cartels that operate freely in that area. Obviously, the DEA has their hands full. And the DEA and CIA run various operations, throughout Mexico, Central and South America. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother show, which is very complicated. But, we do need to secure the border because we're concerned about those threats that are coming across. And this is not something that we're talking about. Look, we're a land of immigrants. We all are. My heritage is, your heritage. Everybody here is a land of immigrants.
Absolutely.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, folks, the security of, look, we have a huge border, security of Texas and the security of our nation as it relates to terrorism and to the threat from the drug cartels.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
What else? We got time for maybe 3 more minutes here. What last topic we want to cover here, Micah?
Well, I mean, we can talk about something that kind of differentiates me from the crowd. I think that, when folks vote for me in this upcoming election, they're going to get somebody who is going to give a voice to the people. I'm going to be someone who I'm going to stand for my principles and my values. And so I'm a strong Christian conservative and have a lot of very conservative views. And, I'm not going to flip-flop on these issues, and I'm going to stand up for it. And there's a lot of people who feel right now that Congress is not representing their issues with only a 13% approval rating.
Right.
Pretty sad.
They're not doing very good, are they?
No, they're not. And I think anybody with that kind of job approval rating probably would have been fired a long time ago.
I know. How is it that happens? You don't do your job. You don't show up. You do a horrible job when you're there, and you get to keep it. How does that work?
I'm really not sure. So, the voters have a big responsibility here to step up and say, you know what, we're not going to take this anymore. We're going to send somebody new. It's time to pass the torch on. Let somebody else take take the fight to Washington. And so I'm the guy to do that. You send me to Washington, and I'm a guy who's going to fight for you. I'm a guy who's going to be very approachable and accessible as well. You know, there's a lot of different groups that I really want to reach out to, and I think we need to do a better job at connecting Washington to just the average everyday person. And so I'm not one of those kind of people that is going to just stick really close to, oh, well, this guy gives me a lot of money, so, you know, I'm just going to hang out with him. And I don't think that's right.
Right.
So I think you need to be representative of all the people that you represent, whether they voted for you or not.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we all know people in politics, their opinion is often purchased and paid for. And with you, that's not the case, right?
No, sir. No, sir. It is not the case.
That's right. Well, folks, look, you know, you've been listening to us talk to Micah Beebe for the U.S. House of Representatives, District 26. He's going up against the incumbent Michael Burgess. The website, bbforcongress.com. And, of course, he's going to be on all the social media outlets as well, so you can catch him there. But definitely go to the website for more information on him and everything he stands for, bbforcongress.com. I mean, this is a real guy here, folks, and, you know, he came from the ground up. You know, nothing was given to him. He didn't get anything free in life, you know, just regular Joe like the rest of us. And came up from the ground and made it all happen. And guess what? He wants to, you know, spend his time helping us going to Congress. And anybody that wants to go up to Congress and try to help us, hey, I'm a big supporter of that. And, you know, the mental capability you're going to have to deal with all that is tremendous. And I applaud that. So, folks, BB for Congress. We've been talking to Micah Beebe for U.S. House of Representatives, District 26. Hopefully next week, folks, we're going to have in candidate for Tarrant County Sheriff, Mr. Wayburn. So we're hoping to have him next week. Folks, it's been Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. See you next Sunday. We are out of here. Neither the hosts nor the guests or contributors of the show Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga are attorneys, CPAs, tax advisors, or investment advisors, and are not providing legal advice during the course of the show. If you need professional legal advice or services in any of those categories, please seek the appropriate professional. The host is a licensed real estate agent in Texas with the Chris Arnold Premier 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 Texas with the Chris Arnold